to this joint Robohand College of the Ouachitas press conference today. We have chosen to have a moderator here for the press conference, and so I'd like to introduce her at this time. This is Ms. Teresa Howell, who's our Deputy Prosecutor. Teresa, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? We are so glad you are here today. This is a wonderful day for COTO, and it's a wonderful day for Robohand, and it's a wonderful day for Ryan and everyone involved in this project. And it's actually going to enhance the lives of many, many people in the future. It's going to enhance COTO. It's going to enhance Hot Spring County and Malvern. There is wonderful things on the horizon because of this collaboration between Robohand and COTO. I want to introduce the gentlemen that are here on the panel with us today. The first person is Rich Van Ness. He is the creator and president of Robohand. We also have Dr. Stephen Schoonmaker, who is president here at COTO. Jody Callahan, who is the applied science chair here at COTO. And then Leo Nell, who is communications director at Robohand. And we've got a few questions, and then we've got some wonderful exhibits, so to speak, for us to have today. And we'll start off with Rich, if you would. You would tell us how Robohand came to be, how you actually invented it, what you do to build a Robohand, and why you actually started this company.
Okay, thank you. Robohand started in 2011 after I had an accident severing 4 of my fingers on my dominant hand. After the initial healing and getting well again, I had started investigating prosthesis and seeing how much the prosthetics cost, and at an astronomical price. I then decided to design and make my own. After that, I saw the potential of the open source concept where I put it out online, the plans for free.
And tell us a little bit, if you would, about your motto of enable one, enable many.
Yes, what happens with Robohand is basically what happens is you enable one person, and the gratitude and the joy in that, they tend to move on and enable others. So the sort of motto that got built up with Robohand was you enable one, you enable many.
Tell us, if you would, a little bit about the makeup of a Robohand using the stainless steel components, the orthoplastic forms, and how these are built for people so that it does no future harm.
Okay, the concept of this is that we use a medical grade orthoplastic, and with this what happens is you don't have any sweating or any damage further to the hand. As said before, basically what happens is using a stainless steel medical grade hardware, it is not porous, so you don't have any bacteria hiding within it. So if you scratch yourself or hurt yourself, you do not get an infection from that. The rest of the hand is actually PLA, which is printed on a 3D printer, and that is non-toxic and that is biodegradable.
Dr. Schoonmaker, if you would please tell us a little bit how COTO has gotten involved in 3D printing and how you became involved with Robohand.
Yes, thank you. Jody came to me in the fall after he had completed supplying our new pre-engineering lab with equipment, including he was able to purchase a couple of 3D printers. And he and I had a conversation about what would it mean if the college were to invest in multiple printers, not just having 1 or 2, but actually having a sizable number, and the number we considered was 50. 50 printers makes College of the Ouachitas the largest print farm in the world. And there was some deep conversation about we needed to do this not just as an investment in this new technology, but to add value, looking at building curriculum and how to make the use of the 3D printer of added value, applicable and practical. Jody shared with me a video about Robohand, and it was the most practical and life-altering application of 3D printing that I could ever imagine. And at that, a few months later, after we got our 3D print lab set up, we Jody reached out to Robohand, and that resulted in us taking a trip to South Africa a few weeks ago and meeting Rich and Leo and the others involved with Robohand, and receiving training and certifications for assembly. I'm now a certified Robohand assembler. Jody is a certified Robohand assembler and fitter. And during that time, we talked about a lot of things that resulted in us talking about this alliance. And the Robohand print farm at College of Ouachitas is the first venture of that alliance. And it was able to coincide today with this announcement, as well as a fitting of Robohand.
Leo, let me ask you, as communications director for Robohand, tell us what the benefit is for Robohand to have this strategic alliance with COTO.
Thank you, Teresa. Yes, definitely, it's been an exciting time meeting up with Dr. Schoonmaker and Jody, seeing how they actually experience this, and seeing them sometimes struggle and bearing all the war scars and stuff like that. Working with your hands tend to have some interesting effects on your hands. Ask Jody, at some stage he couldn't feel his fingers anymore because he's working on such small stuff. So with regards to COTO and the alliance that we've got with COTO, we believe that we need to get this information out to other people, to enable other people to actually be able to also utilize Robohands. And obviously, if we can educate people in this and actually get people to better understand 3D printing and what the benefits are of using 3D printing, we believe that's what the value is in terms of our engagement with COTO, and that we can get a curriculum that makes people actually understand tangible what is capable of doing with 3D printing and to change people's lives. And I can definitely tell you there's some interesting stories with regards to this where young people take the challenge up and say, well, I'm going to raise money to actually get somebody a Robohand. A little girl in Los Angeles that actually engaged with Rich after he spoke at their school and coming back and saying, you know what, how much money does it take to actually fit a Robohand? And he said, well, $500. And the printing and the fitting and assembly of all of that. So, can I ask you to have your email address, she asked him. And he said, well, here's my email address. And lo and behold, 10 days later, when he returned home, she raised $500 and already identified somebody to actually have the hand fitted to. So I believe with young people like that, if you can change people's lives to actually experience what it's all about, to make a difference in somebody else's life, I think there's hope for us.
Dr. Schoonmaker, a moment ago you mentioned going to South Africa and actually going to the Robohand workshop and learning how to assemble and how to fit. Can you tell us a little bit about yours and Jody's trip to South Africa and what all you learned while you were there?
Well, it was certainly, for me, a life-changing experience. It was my first time in South Africa. It was my first time on the continent of Africa. And as early on when I met Rich, one of the things he commented was that South Africa is not for sissies. And I would heartily agree with him about that. It's a tremendous place, and I got to learn a lot about the people and the culture. But it really was beyond our imagining that we could, in such a short time, create such a positive relationship with Robohand and ultimately the formation of the alliance that we're here to speak about today.
Jody, if you would, can you tell us a little bit about, you were actually more hands-on in building and learning how to fit Robohand or Roboarm. Can you tell us about what you went through learning how to do all that and what has happened since then?
Sure, thank you, Teresa. For me, I was no stranger to South Africa. I'd been there before. So my whole goal was to kind of go to school. When I got there, I had to be a little bit more aggressive in the team building and partnership building than I normally would be. But again, time was very limited, and we had a lot to accomplish. In that time, as Leonard said, I had lost feeling in my fingers and actually developed pneumonia when I came back. So it was a lot of days of 18-plus hour days, very little sleep, a lot of tedious work. We fitted a hand there. Rich and I fitted the smallest hand that's ever been fitted on the youngest recipient. That was a 2-year-old child named Mika from Johannesburg, and we were able to fit that while we were there. We also began the work on a cast that had been sent in by a family in Chicago. That family is actually here with us today, and we'll bring them up in a moment. But they sent in the required paperwork and measurements and actually a plaster cast of Ryan's arm. And from there, we were able to take the cast and do what's called a remote fit. When we started looking at the addresses, we realized they were within driving distance of us here at the college. And so we reached out to them, and they were gracious enough to come and drive 11 hours to get here this morning and be fitted and actually allow us to be a part of their life and be a part of our lives as well. They're with us today, Ryan, his mother Dina, and his father Stan. Earlier today we were talking about how it was to be able to reach out, use the technology to touch people. We were talking about some of the things that brought us together. In the initial purchase of the 3D printers, we were shown the Robohand video, and that was very personal to me because several years ago, at the time he was 5, my nephew Caden lost his arm in a traumatic amputation while driving in a vehicle. The moment that I saw that video, I knew that we were really onto something big. They've had difficulty. I watched and my wife watched as they had, guilt and readjustment problems and even, financial difficulties because these things are so expensive and you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. So it's been a tough journey for them. We spoke to them earlier in the week and Caden has now been using different prosthetics and has become so frustrated that he has not worn a prosthetic for almost a year now. Earlier this morning, in our session this morning, his father was following along on Google with us, and they got to talking again, and they were actually texting my wife in the audience. So to make a long story short, they live 6 hours from here. They left about 20 minutes ago, and Ryan was such an inspiration to them that they're driving 6 hours to see us tonight, and we'll work into the wee hours of the morning to fit my nephew Caden with his Robohand. So that's going to be a really good news story, and that just tells you the power of the technology. I'd like to take a moment and have Dina and Ryan come up. Ryan's a little bit shy, so if you guys will kind of be easy on him. They drove in last night, and we spent a little bit of time with them at the hotel before we put them to bed. Just kind of got to know each other. And then they came in this morning at 8 o'clock for the final fitting. And Ryan has taken to the Roboarm wonderfully. He's actually able to pick up small objects with it. He has good development, good ability to use it. If you can see, he's flexing it. Ryan is also a swimmer, and with a lot of the prosthetic hands out there now, you're not able to swim with it. We recommend that you bathe and you swim with your Robohand so you can get used to it. So there's nothing that can happen to that hand that we can't fix with a 3D printer. I want to take a moment to talk about some of the other initiatives out there. There are plenty of knockoffs. There are plenty of folks out there that are doing the same kind of work. Rich Van Ass is the creator of Robohand. He's the maker, if you will. For us to be able to leave Malvern, Arkansas, and to reach out across the globe to the founder and the creator and the original maker and go straight to the source, we were able to bypass some initiatives here in the United States, like the Enable Map and some other folks who are doing work. The work that they do is not to the quality, not to the standard that we're able to do by being strategically aligned with Rich and with Robohand. Earlier, Rich spoke about using only implant-grade surgical stainless steel, whether those pieces actually touch the body or not. He spoke about using a medical-grade orthoplastic. We're able to do that. It's a little bit more costly, but the medical-grade orthoplastic allows the arm to breathe underneath so it can pass vapor through. It almost works like a Gore-Tex. So by doing that, we truly uphold the do no harm mantra that we hold near and dear to us. The last thing that any of us want to do is further harm or create a further amputation. And so we just felt like it was important to go directly to the source and align ourselves. And we've done that. And as you can see, Ryan is doing very well with it. We still have a little bit more tweaking to do, but I'm very proud of Ryan. Ryan, do you have anything to say? How do you feel about the Robohand?
Cool.
Ryan, what grade are you in? I'm sorry?
Second grade.
So where do you go to school, Ryan?
Welcome to school.
And that's in Chicago. What do your classmates think about this? Do they know you're getting a Robohand over the summer? Will they be excited? Mom, you want to take just a moment?
We are very excited. We were looking for something similar to the Robohand for a very long time because unfortunately the prosthetics what the kids can get, they're very uncomfortable and very hairy, and we're very excited because Ryan saw the video on YouTube for the boy, I believe in South Africa, who was catching the ball with his hand, and this is exactly the hand which you see on the table, and he said, I want it. He was refusing to wear his prosthetic for more than a year before that. And I emailed to Rich, and he said, I will build it for you. And that's what we came here for, and it's for his smile and the way he's looking at it, the way he's using it, of course, every single hour we drove here, every single minute. I'm very excited. Thank you very much. You're doing a very good, big thing for all the kids with the born or have disabilities.
Well, I want to thank you for allowing us to be a part of it. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your family and share this experience with you. And I want to thank you personally for sharing your experience with my nephew. I can't wait for you guys to meet tonight, and then you guys will be friends for life, I know. So I'm excited. Thank you so much.
And I'm very happy to become a Robohand fan, part of the Robohand family. Thank you.
Now, would you be willing to share a little bit about just the weight? And you were talking to me earlier about the weight difference and how that can affect Ryan's balance and development?
Ryan was born without right hand, and the way, they usually fit kids with the prosthetics very early. Unfortunately, he refused to wear it, and we was able to fit him first when he was 5 years old, when it was a regular mechanic prosthetic, which was working from the shoulder strap, and it was very heavy. It was close to, I believe, close to 8 to 9 pounds. And this is the only thing that was available for the small kids, because the myoelectric prosthetic, unfortunately, they're very fragile, and on top of everything, they're very expensive. And what we start seeing that, first of all, that prosthetic is heavy. In that case, the kids are, he start getting body imbalance, his shoulders are going up because he has to work it off the shoulder strap. And he was doing it at school, but his tendency was, I'm not going to wear it at home. And that was very difficult. And honestly, it was his decision, it was his body, and we decided we're not going to force him to do that. And he dropped it completely when he went to the first grade. We also had a consultation in the, with the prosthetics, and they told us that when the psychologist looked at him and who works with the kids with the missing extremities, she told us, you can spend thousands of dollars, you can try to raise the money for it, but unfortunately when the kids have a very bad experience with the first prosthetics, they have tendency not to follow with them. And it's not like a adult who can force themselves to learn something. The kids usually say, no, I'm not wearing it, and they drop all along. And it doesn't look cool. Like you see, this one can be made in different colors. And the cool factor for kids is a big thing. And the weight is a big thing. This doesn't weigh even, I think it's less than, close to 2 pounds probably. A little less than
Yeah, it's
that.
probably a little
Less
heavy.
than, yes, and that's incredible because it's taking all the weight out of his shoulder, and now his body is balanced. That's a big thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
One of the things that when Jody and Rich did the fitting in South Africa, we were curious, what did this working hand for a 2-year-old weigh? And so we got out a scale and we measured it, and it was 83 grams. Now, I didn't know my conversion, so I had to go into an app for that, and found out that that's less than 3 ounces. So just think about a little 2-year-old being able to put on a Robohand that is virtually weightless, and comparing that to 8 pounds, 10 pounds, things that weigh a child down and really aren't natural. The Robohands are an anatomically driven mechanical hand. And Ryan has, as you can see, become quite good at using it, and he's only had it for a few hours. He also seems to like putting it on and wearing it, and I know that's quite a positive change from the previous ones he had to deal with. Thank you very much. We are so glad that you made the trek down to College of Ouachitas and to meet Robohand and the college folks, and we have certainly, you've won us over in our hearts, your family, so thank you so much for being a part of this day.
Dr. Schoonmaker, let me go ahead and ask you, what's going to be the future of COTO with its alliance with Robohand now?
Well, I think we've just started. I think there's, when I think about 3D printing, one of the things that Rich shared with us, and I certainly came to understand it when we were in South Africa, and he says the only trouble with 3D printing is that it's 3D printing. 3D printing is a relatively new technology, and it brings to mind the grainy black and white pictures of the early televisions. And yet now think about the picture quality today. And just think about that kind of evolution in technology. And I think that what we're going to see is that this kind of use of 3D printing, where the designs will get even more refined, the ability to create things just from a person's own imagination. This is really just on the frontier of that. The Robohand print farm at College of the Ouachitas will be, it embraces the three focal areas that the college has identified, and that is to engage, to educate, and to empower. And we have that as something we do on our campus, whether you're a faculty member, a staff member, an administrator, or a student. And whatever interaction you have on campus, you're engaging, you're educating, and you're empowering. And the print farm is totally integrated into that concept. The print farm will engage the minds and the imaginations and the innovations of people both on campus and in the community, the global community. The ability to educate. Jody's been working with Robohand on curriculum that we will be able to offer, and the capstone experience will be to actually print and assemble a Robohand. I will tell you, I'm not very mechanically minded, and Leo's talk about putting these together and coming away with some wounds. I definitely came away with some assembly wounds, but what it taught me was you can look at the printed pieces of a hand and look, and my reaction was, this is really cool. It was even more amazing when I got down to detail as I'm assembling it, and I see the channels that have been designed in the fingers that allow for the threads to come through and the elastic to reflex the hand back to its resting position. All of those are built into the design. And while the design is not complicated, it is rather complex. It's a very simple design, but it has complexity to it that is truly amazing once you get down to it. So what we can imagine is students having this final experience of taking this design, printing it out, assembling it together, and then being able to know that somewhere in the world, someone will have their life, the quality of their life improved because of something that they printed and they put together. And we can't think of a better way to engage, educate, and empower from College of the Ouachitas in Malvern, Arkansas, and to all points of the globe. So we'll be printing for Robohand. We will also be accepting print orders from others who have ideas, prototypes that they want to look at and to consider. If you think about someone having a new idea and sending it to someone to make a mold out of it, that plastic mold can cost thousands of dollars. And if after you've done that and it doesn't work, then you're out that money. And that's why research and development in some areas is so expensive. If you come up with that idea and you send it to the Robohand print farm at the college, we'll print that out and we'll see if it works. We can do that far more economically and make that available for anyone. Anyone who's interested in that can email us. We've created a special email account for the print farm. It's very easy to remember. It's if you think of Robohand Print Farm, it's rpf@coto.edu. And so anyone interested in that can get in touch with us, and we can be in conversation about helping them get their ideas printed and perhaps to market.
Would folks who may be here today right now thinking about someone who might need a Robohand, would they come to that same link to be able to check to see about being available for a Robohand?
Absolutely, yes.
That's pretty much the end of the press conference that we have presented. Is there anything else, Jody, that you'd like to add before we close?
No, thank everyone for coming. Thank you for being a part of this, and we look forward to seeing you after the press conference.
Here at the end of the press conference, though, we'll be taking you over to the print farm for anyone who wants to go to see the 3D printer, some of the components for the Robohand. You're welcome to go over there and ask all kinds of questions, touch things, and look at things, and all of that. So, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you being here.